In this video, I'm going to tell you the two tarot cards that if you really go deep and understand them completely, you can achieve, accomplish, acquire, become anything that you want. Does it sound like a big promise? Well, it is, but I think that it is definitely worth looking into, and if you're interested in learning more about tarot and manifesting your dreams and goals, stay tuned. Don't forget also to like and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy this content. It really helps to support me making these videos happen. Okay, so I wanted to come on here and make a video about something that has been on my mind a lot lately, which is the hidden meanings of some of the tarot cards and the things that we don't normally see that are actually very present. And the more that we study similar sciences, I should say, such as astrology and other metaphysical branches of study, occultism in general, the more that we branch out from tarot, at least this has been my experience, the more that things start to come to you about the tarot and you understand just how deep and powerful this tool is. Once I really started to realize this, I went, oh my God, this is really deep. So one of the things that I want to first preface is saying that I personally believe that you can manifest and achieve anything you want that is relevant to your life journey and that is authentic to you as an individual. It really just comes down to how you are working on your mindset, your thought process on things, staying connected to your feeling nature as well, and prioritizing and taking action is also part of it, just as is kind of relaxing and trusting and letting go. So that's just kind of my overall philosophy on manifestation, is that yes, you can have anything you want. The only key factor to consider with that is it authentic and is it cohesive with natural law? Is it true to your nature and who you are at the core of your being? And if so, then you can achieve it. It's just a matter of staying inventive, imagining and visualizing what you want, and taking the actions, as well as having faith and letting go when that's appropriate as well. I invite you to really go deeper and take this video as really just an introduction. The two tarot cards where the secret is hidden is the Hermit and the Moon. So I know some of you guys who are already familiar with tarot will probably be already thinking about how the Hermit card is card 9 in the tarot deck and the Moon is card 18. Also, the Sun is card 19. So these numbers all have incredible significance and occulted, secret knowledge, which is so interesting. And no, I can explain some of the stuff to you, but again, it's going to be really important for you to go into these cards and have a meditation. You know, you can set up these cards with a candle lit and some quiet time when you aren't going to be interrupted by other people, and really just, do a visualization, go into the imagery, keep your eyes open, right? Looking at the cards, but really just feel and turn, open your mind, open your senses, open your intuition, and really just go into these cards, because they will teach you everything that you need to know in order to manifest in this metaphysical manner, or in an occult manner, in a wise manner. And it will help connect you to, your natural ability to visualize and conceive of the things that you desire, while also, being in touch with the natural rhythms of life. So why are these cards that hold this secret the Hermit and the Moon? So card 18, the Moon, 1 and 8 breaks down to 9, right? And 9 is the Hermit card. So there's already an important link in these cards just from the numerology. If you're familiar with how numerology works, these cards are basically the equivalent, okay? And there's a lot of significance to the number 9. And even if you look into Tesla's work and Nikola Tesla and what he said about, the magnificence of the numbers 3, 6, and 9, and how if you really understand that, then you have the key to the universe. It all comes down to with the Hermit and the Moon and why these cards help you so much with manifesting and with directing yourself in life is that, in my view, there's two things that you have to do in order to achieve what you want, or in order to achieve a state of being where you are, accomplishing everything that you want and your desires are true and authentic to yourself. The first one is self-awareness, genuine self-awareness, which is the Hermit, right? And this is the Aquarian Tarot. I picked this because the Hermit in this deck is sort of looking away from the viewer, and I feel like that really communicates that sense of giving yourself that space and time to turn away from the outer world and look within, and developing that self-awareness that comes when you give yourself regular time and regular space to do that. Whatever your life circumstances allow is enough and perfect for you to do, but at least getting some of that Hermit energy into your life helps you develop self-awareness. And one of the other things that develops self-awareness, of course, is being around other people, because they will reflect back to you the things that maybe you aren't aware of about yourself, but still you don't really come into that like ownership and accountability like except within you, right? Like you might, if somebody tells you something that you didn't know about yourself, whether it's maybe a little negative or something, usually when you're in a social situation and someone does that, the first reaction is resistance. But then once you get into that space with yourself, that's when you really feel yourself soften, and you can start to reflect, and you might realize that maybe there is something for you to look at there, and maybe there's some healing that can be done, or there's some self-compassion and as well some intention setting that can be done to sort of move you in a more positive direction, right? But that happens within you. Nobody can kind of force that on you, so it always comes back to the Hermit with that sense of self-awareness and really turning away from outside influences, so that you can maybe process, sure, some of the things that those outside influences might have shown you, but ultimately it's that act of turning away and giving yourself that safe space to process that really helps you to evolve and grow, which is a huge part of manifesting anything that you want. Because if you are responding appropriately to the things that are coming up in your life at any given moment, then that's going to propel you further towards desired outcomes, right? So we can only handle what's right in front of us, and if we handle that effectively, then the world opens up for us more. And this is true, in a metaphysical manner, but it's also true in a very practical manner, right? We start being able to do well at work or in our business or something like that, and then we can handle more, or we might get a raise, or we might get a promotion, or if it's our own business, if everything's going well and smoothly, then our business grows, so we have, no matter what situation you're in, this sense that like just knowing yourself well and responding appropriately to the situations that are coming up for you in your life, that's really what self-awareness is comprised of, and that's how self-awareness is the first key to manifesting anything that you want, right? Because without it, you can't adapt and improve your reactions to things that you're dealing with at present in your life, right? So that's the Hermit. And now the Moon, which is the numerological equivalent of the Hermit, which is also, the equivalent of 9. 1 and 8 is 9, and 9 in numerology is the equivalent of 0, because in numerology, whatever you add 9 to, the 9 disappears, right? So if you add 9 to 70, then let's say you have 7 and 9, which would be 16, which is 1 and 6, which goes back down to 7, which is the same equivalent of 70. 70 is equal to 7. So that's just an example of every time that you add 9 to something, and 9 is the only number that does this, it effectively disappears in numerology. So 9 is like 0. It is the dark matter of numerology. It's everywhere and nowhere at once. And this goes really deep, and we can really get a sense of this with the Moon card as well, in connection somewhat to the Sun card, because the Moon, being card 18, talks about the cycles of existence on planet Earth. So the moon being card 18 is, I firmly believe, a very strong hint at eclipses, because Saros cycles are the cycles in which eclipses repeat. So every Saros cycle, every time a Saros cycle passes, there will be basically the same eclipse. It'll be the same geometric shape, it'll occur at the same node, and it will be in a similar, although 11 days later, part of the zodiac, which is basically, I'm speaking of the zodiac as the calendar, right? And a Saros cycle is 18 years long, 18 years and 11 days to be more precise. So the moon card being 18, card 18 in the tarot, I should say, really just echoes back to this sense that cycles that we move through in our life, and in a more kind of broader, perspective across the entire planet, like looking at the cycles of a civilization, for example, or the life cycles of, large groups of people. They move in these 18-year cycles because every 18 years we have a little repeat of a same eclipse shape, and it will be roughly in a similar area, but it moves 10 degrees westward every year. So, and that's the result of the 11 extra days, and there's also some hours that are extra as well. So basically, every 18 years, we have a return of this similar energy that is being imbued into the Earth's energetic atmosphere, into our psyches as well, because I personally believe that we're affected on a psychological level, as well as on a mundane, practical level, by things that are going on, in astronomy. And eclipse alignments are also, strongly associated with things like earthquakes or, similar phenomenon that happen, in our weather. So there's a lot of similarities, and there's a very intricate and connected link with this number 18 and repeating of cycles. And now, one of the really amazing things about this is that when you actually start looking at the numerology of eclipses, you get into some really, really deep things. So first of all, 18, 1 and 9, or 1 and 8 is equal to 9. 9 is that very sacred number, that number that works, it disappears, it goes, it basically is like 0 in a way. No matter what you add it to, it disappears. So it's this very metaphysical, very deep, almost like dark matter theme. It's everywhere around us. Number 9 is everywhere around us, but it's invisible. That's kind of like how I think about it in numerology. So when we also look at the cycles of eclipses, though, it takes about 54 years for an eclipse Saros series to get through 3 times. So basically 54, again, 5 and 4 is 9. And in that span of 3 cycles, this same eclipse that we're talking about that happens every 18 years will go through one sign of the zodiac. So you're getting these 9s layered in with important milestones, right? So every 54 years, the cycle will have repeated 3 times. And in that 3 times, it will take 54 years, which is 5 and 4, which is 9. And at that point, it will click over to the next zodiac sign. So that same eclipse that's part of that same Saros cycle will now be occurring in a different sign of the zodiac, which means it's happening in a slightly later part of the year every cycle, right? So hopefully this is making sense. As you start to add these up, so it takes 54 years to cross one sign, times that by 12 to get how long it takes that same eclipse that happens every 18 years to move around the entire zodiac, and you will have 648 years, which is equal to 9, because 6 plus 4 plus 8 is 18, which is the moon card, which adds down to 9 again. So there is a very powerful occulted secret, and I don't want to go too much further into this because I want you guys to explore this yourself. If this is something that you feel inspired to look into, I want you to meditate on this, think about this, journey into these cards through meditation, and really get a sense of what I'm saying from a deeper level, which is basically that what the moon card teaches us about manifestation and the secrets behind the moon card, what they teach us is that every cycle ends in 0. Basically, time is cycles, right? And cycles repeat, but when they repeat, they go back to this 9, which is, again, the 0 number. It's like, its hidden dimension is basically 0. So time essentially repeats, cycles repeat. Everything that you experience in your life, and you might notice this if you're old enough to have, several 18-year cycles, if you're, let's say, 54 or, around that, you might look back at the first 18 years of your life and the second 18 years of your life and the third grouping of 18 years of your life, and really look at some of the lessons that you learned during those periods of time and how they may actually be very important lines of demarcation. Or you may have very interesting experiences where maybe you met somebody who was very striking and very important in your life, but then you didn't see them, and then you hear from them 18 years later. Pay attention to these things, and particularly if they have happened around eclipses as well, because you will know that if you, let's say, met somebody who was really important in your life to you at a certain time, maybe it was an ex-girlfriend or boyfriend or something like that, you might have met them around an eclipse. Maybe you weren't even paying attention to astrology back then, but you might have met them around an eclipse, or, you can always look back on that. If you met somebody in September of, 2006, then you can look at, was there an eclipse that year at that time? And you might have a return to some sort of theme related to that person 18 years later, just because, so in 2024, let's say, just because that whole cycle is, it's occurred, and basically you are being given this opportunity to process that energy once more, and you've had this whole revolution of a serocycle, the eclipse cycles between that you have been learning and processing, and so you're coming back to that lesson or that energy 18 years later to really conquer it, or to really conquer yourself in regards to it, or to really, appreciate it and, embrace it again, whatever it means to you. Life tends to move in 9-year cycles and 18-year cycles. And this is different from what we normally think of as, we all know the Saturn return is very influential. That's a 29-year cycle. That's also really linked in actually with some of these other cycles that we can talk about. But I think, we tend to think in terms of decades, or we tend to think in terms of maybe 28 years, the progressed moon cycle, for example. But actually, I really, in my experience, and the more that I learn about time and eclipses, I think this is really something that can show you what life really is, which is it's cyclic, it's complex, and you always get a chance to come back renewed. There's something about this topic that I think if you really go into it, you will realize that you are always being renewed at any given moment, and you will always have this opportunity if you feel like you slipped off path in any way. And I'm not just talking about every 18 years now, I'm talking about just the cycles of life in general. If you feel like you get off track a little bit, or if you feel like you fall down for a minute, there's always going to be another opportunity. It's almost like I'm picturing a clock or something with a lot of spirals and cogs and wheels, and they're always turning, and there's always going to be another opportunity for you to jump in. There's always going to be another wave for you to ride. So I feel like this is something that really represents the broader awareness of cycles, that I think you have to pair with self-awareness in order to truly manifest anything that you desire, because it's not only about like knowing yourself, you also do benefit from looking at the broader cycles that are playing out. And one of the ways that that has really become more natural to me is through astrology, but there's so many other ways that you can get into this rhythm. But basically, it's like the universe has a heartbeat, and if you know yourself and you turn inward for that, hermit energy, and you at the same time, like simultaneously, keep that connection with the awareness of the broader cycles that are at hand, then the marriage of these two cards really comes together to help you, to give you all of the tools that you need to assess your situation accurately, which is again the hermit, and then also to have impeccable timing, which is the moon. And that's how you manifest anything that you want, is really having that self-awareness and having that cyclic awareness, or the awareness of time and cycles. One of the most beautiful quotes from the Bible, Psalm 46, be still and know that I am God, has been coming through for me so much lately. I feel like I always hear it in kind of random ways. It's just very synchronistic for me right now. And I think that there's also a big component of that in this, because there is this element of, be still, which is, again, it's like the hermit, right? Be still and know that I am God. The moon card is the second part of that, because even if you say that to yourself, you're reaffirming your godliness, your connection to, your higher source, spirit, divinity. I firmly believe that like our consciousness is God in a way. I'm not saying that there isn't higher dimensions of beings that help us, but if they're like, if you accept the proposition that there are, they are also part of our consciousness, right? Like we're all one consciousness. So I think that recognizing, part of the deeper truth of the phrase be still and know that I am God is really about accepting that things like, what I'm telling you that the moon card represents, such as eclipses and astronomical cycles, they're all just you projected out into the universe, because they require a perceiver, right, in order to be manifest. And this is getting kind of like hard to explain, but when you're studying something like eclipses, it might feel like it's this external thing, but the fact that you are holding it in your consciousness shows that it's you that you are looking at. And this is true of anything and everyone. Everyone is you sort of projected outward and reflecting back to you, right? And that's not to say that we're alone in the universe and it's all, solipsistic or whatever. It's more about recognizing that if you're paying attention to something, that whatever it is you. You can't get away from that. And so I think that it's important to recognize that when you do have a desire that hasn't manifested yet, it's like taking ownership of that and recognizing that you exist within these broader cycles, which are also you. So if there feels to be a restriction or a limitation in terms of getting what you want, or if you're feeling, excited, but also kind of like anxious to get somewhere or to do something, all of it is you. All of it is already in existence, right? Everything that you are working to manifest already exists, because time is a loop. It repeats. Just like I was telling you about eclipse cycles, they repeat in cycles of 9, which is the same thing. It's the same thing as 0. It's the same thing repeating over and over again, but it's novel because of you, because you are the divine consciousness that sort of experiences that and brings life to it, and you're part of the same being of consciousness that we're all linked into. It's like everything's happening at once. Everything's true at once as well. And all truths are also half truths. So it's a very deep subject. And it's something that if you really want to work with these cards for manifestation, I recommend that this is not just like a one and done, okay, listen to a quick video about it, that sounds interesting, and then go along with your life. If you really want to work with this is going to be something that you will come back to and that you will continue to just think about, daydream about it when you're standing in line or you're walking your dog or something. Just be connected to life in this way, because you will find that whatever limitations seem to be placed on you as far as timing or the effort that it takes to do something or to manifest something, that's all part of you as well. So it all is rooted back into the Hermit anyway, because whatever you're paying attention to that is cyclic in nature, or it's your own cycles. Maybe you go through a time period where you're ill for a while and you can't do the things that you were doing, and you're ready to be well, you're manifesting wellness, but at the same time you have to recognize that you might be in a cycle right now that it's temporary, but it is also you. Like, it's not something that is an accident. It's not something that you can't take ownership of, is my point. Because all of these things, they're all you pushed out. They're all you projected outward. And at the same time, you can see through numerology, like I showed you just a little bit about these cards and their connection to astronomical phenomena, that really gives you a clue into, the clockwork universe, the sense that there is a mechanistic element to life on our planet, to life in our dimension as well. And I think the more that you work with these two cards, the more of a magician you will be in your own life. These are like the magician maker cards, right? So I think this is a really great place to start if you're wanting to go deeper with the tarot and you're wanting to use the images on the cards to manifest things that you want. Start with the self-awareness. Go work outward to the moon. Look at, the cycles. Look at the situation that you find yourself in your own life. Look at the external factors. Observe the situation. Just like the eye at the top of the pyramid is a symbol for, perception and observation being the most important qualities and the most important actions to take. Because when you really pay attention to the cycles of what's going on around you, and I don't just mean eclipses, but just the cycles of everything. Everything moves in cycles. Everything on our planet, everything in our psychology, everything in our health, everything moves in cycles, right? So pay attention to what part of the cycle that you're in. Accept that on a really deep level, which is, anchoring it into the Hermit. It's self-acceptance of where you're at. And then when you've achieved that, then everything can open up for you, but you have to be aware of the natural place that you're at in the cosmos and in relation to your own life journey while you're waiting and, taking action and having faith and opening up, new pathways for yourself. So I hope that this was interesting for you. I hope that this gave you maybe some comfort if you're somebody who's looking to, or if you're really wanting to manifest something like your health or like a particular life situation. I hope that this gives you some insight and somewhere to go. Definitely path work with these cards. Like I said, set them up. It doesn't have to be this deck, but any deck that you have. And do a meditation with them. Ask yourself, what do you not know yet? What are you not paying attention to about yourself and about the situation that you're in? Because if you ask yourself those things, you will get new information in meditation or through journaling with the cards as well. So definitely don't take this at face value. Go deeper into it for yourself and really explore these concepts. And I truly believe that it will be helpful to you in manifesting anything that you want. Please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe. Leave a comment below if you feel like you want to tell me some of your key takeaways from this video. I would absolutely love to hear from you, and I will see you in the next video.